everyone, welcome to South of King's Landing Explosion Network's House of the Dragon After Show, where we break down and discuss each and every episode of House of the Dragon. My name's Tom Blight, and joining me, hand of the king, Ashley Holloway.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here in an episode that's all about the winners. Our winning sucks.
When you get what you want in life, sometimes it's not what you dreamed of. We are talking about...
This is an episode about the next president of the United States of America. They have to come in and fix a bunch of problems. That's the truth.
They burned all the... They took the gold away. Trump hit it all. Fucking...
I totally believe he'd hang all the
It's going to happen? Yes. Yeah. Episode 3, Rhaenyra Triumphant. Rhaenyra learns the situation in King's Landing is not what she anticipated. Unable to locate her enemies and with demands coming from all sides, Rhaenyra must navigate a delicate balance between appeasing her supporters and consolidating her rule. What did you make of this week's rather focused, I would say, episode?
Yeah, I think it was surprisingly focused. Outside of what the
pre-credits, yeah. The rest of it's in King's Landing, focused
almost completely with Rhaenyra the entire episode, which is, feels. It's a very. I really liked it. I think it. I know. I'm trying to. Before jumping on, I'm trying to think what this episode kind of reminded me of. Kind of reminded me like some of the early episodes of The Bear, where it's like very claustrophobic, very focused on this person, and it's just about the nuts and bolts of how things function.
You know, it was making me think. That's where your mind went. My mind went, oh, is this directed by the Safdie brothers? Is this like Uncut Gems or A Good Time, or like it's just a very
weirdly tense
or Marty Supreme, like
is a weirdly tense hour of television. As we are just kind of watching this person who I guess has imagined how this would play out, having to deal with the reality of how things actually are, and it not necessarily living up to their expectations. I think it's a very fascinating episode.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I like obviously Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, we don't usually get episodes like this, considering the amount of characters and locations and spanning nature of the show. To have something that's very hyper-focused on a character stood out. And yeah, it's obviously I think it's between the mix of they did such a good job between just the way it's shot, I know we can call it the focus pool if we want to go to cinematography, just adding like a sense of like uneasiness, like it's almost playing into how Rhaenyra feels. You can sense that like sort of her headache is coming through the camera. And then I thought the music was also quite good. The music stood out slightly different to what we'd usually expect. It was just sort of
There was one specific moment where it's like goes from very triumphant to like a pow pow kind of sound. Like you think it's a great moment, and then it's like it brings you back to earth. I think the score in this episode is very good.
Yeah, it did a lot of, I want to say work, because that would take away from all the other aspects of it, but it definitely did a lot of mood setting and helped compose the overall nature of the episode. And then I think obviously the other standout part of the episode is Emma Darcy's performance, getting to see them front and center for the entire episode, really highlight, like obviously performance has always been really good, but here just getting an entire hour dedicated to Renera, you get to see Emma Darcy just really perform the many aspects of her head about to explode. I guess
it's a very unflattering performance, to say the least. She's just there's that element of her not wanting to sleep in that bed, and her just getting overly more tired and that kind of stuff, and then hallucinating Jace and all these elements. So yeah, it's pretty great.
It's sort of the other thing that sort of stood out for this episode is do we really? Is there another world where we would have? I know there's like people say there's rumored talk about how because of the writer strikes and all that sort of stuff. Do we think this another world? This is the season premiere. You know what I mean? Like the last 2 episodes fall into season 2, really, and then
I mean, I'm sure in a perfect world they would have liked this to have been the starting point, and like that would have been a really cool. You had the big fight at the end of last season, and you start kind of fresh. That would have been a more interesting, end point. Cliffhanger, I guess, is Rhaenyra. If you had ended last season with Rhaenyra killing Alicent's dad, Alicent walking in, that's how it ends. That would have been pretty cool. But I don't know. I think they were pretty happy, with how it was. Also, maybe they wouldn't have been able to also get the people that they've got like set up, like specifically, obviously, not Edward Norton. What's his name? James Norton is clearly set up as a main antagonist of this season based on this episode, I would say. And would they have been able to get him if
Probably
this
not,
had been shot 2 years ago?
Yeah. All right, let's go through it. This week I'm reading from W Magazine. The episode begins with what looks like a standoff between the Hightower host and Daemon Targaryen, who, though outnumbered, is backed by 3 dragons. Firepower is irrelevant at the moment. However, this conversation is just surprisingly peaceful. Daemon announces that Rhaenyra is officially queen, and Ormond Hightower is bent to knee and swear his allegiance to her. Ormond fights back slightly, but eventually concedes. But right before he's about to sulk back to Old Town, Daemon requests one more thing: Alicent's third son, Darion. Did we say Darion? Who has been living in Old Town for the majority of his life. Again, Ormond gives in ridiculously quickly, and there's a reason for that. In episode 1 of the season, we see Ormond with an auburn-haired boy in Hightower Green, who was assumed to be Darren upon the season's premiere airing. Now in episode 3, Daemon is presented with a scrawny, bleached, blonde boy. So is he a counterfeit? Forced into the belly of the enemy to save the real Darion for sure death. And do the Hightowers just have a lot of wigs lying around so they can impersonate Targaryens whenever they please? Apparently. Yes and no. The fair-haired boy is a knockoff, as we learn by the end of the episode, but that isn't a wig. While the kid keeps silent throughout Rhaenyra's questioning, when he finally faces his quote-unquote mother, Alicent, before being sent to the wall, we learn he is an imposter forced to bleach his hair and play the part of the prince by Ormond. Luckily for the Hightowers, Renera and Daemon don't know what their half-brother nephew looks like, but Alicent does. An erection to seeing her quote-unquote son quickly reveals his true identity, a merchant son who had no other choice. The real Darion, meanwhile, remains safe and out of his enemy's hands. What do we make of all the what is this? Just Ormond's plan? Is this something else put into motion by someone else? What's the, you know what I mean? Like, what do we think here?
I think, it's definitely Ormond's plan. I mean, there's a possibility that Otto is like set some things in motion.
That far in
advance, I guess, possibly. Although we don't know how long Otto's been held in. Well, I guess since he was removed as Hand of the King. So as soon as the second son took power,
It's hard. Not Aemon.
Aemon.
Yep. Aemon.
Since then, I assume he's been in lockup, but they might have like put some things in motion, that kind of thing. But it definitely feels like, James Norton is playing his own game to an extent, and like, I guess in hindsight, is like smart move, but probably not great for his future. But it also explains why he kind of gave him up rather quickly and had him so quickly close, I guess, by as well.
Available,
yeah.
Sheepstiller and Aemond are still unaccounted for. Rhaenyra lacks a small council. She feels betrayed by those who assisted her while in Dragonstone and thus left them behind upon her ascension. Still by her side, though, is Viseria, her mistress of whispers, and while Daemon has made it clear he does not trust the White Worm and the two constantly bicker, Rhaenyra places a lot of faith in her. A good headspace is necessary to take this all on, but Rhaenyra is far from stable at this point. She's just days removed from losing Jace, and she's clearly still grieving. Throughout the episode, Rhaenyra seems to get lost in her head. She sees Jace walking through the halls of the Red Keep and lacks trust in all of those around her. As she enters this new dangerous phase, there are a few with whom she can talk. Perhaps that's why she continually finds herself in conversation with Alicent. After a season that kept them almost entirely apart, it is such a joy to see Renera and Alicent back together, sparring once again. Renera confronts her best friend turned mortal enemy about the whereabouts of the gold, a fact about which Alicent vehemently denies any knowledge. Quote, "They hated me from the beginning, resented my influence, my mere presence," the Queen Dowager says. And based upon what we saw in the last episode, we know she's speaking the truth. Where is the goal? Who organized that?
Well, they said Lannister.
Do you reckon it's old Brick Halffoot or whatever his name is?
No, I think, like I said, one of the Lannisters was a master of coin and just kind of,
but did he organize to did he do that upon his own accord, or did someone else tell him to do that? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like
why was it shuffled out? Because they assumed that. I
feel like that was an auto play, like much earlier in one of the seasons. Like, let's move the coin in case we get into trouble or something like that. Although they were spending coin rather fast, so there's also a possibility that they just spent it all. You know what I mean? Trying to
win the war.
Yeah, stay in control and that kind of stuff. So, it does raise a very interesting quandary for Rhaenyra and the new royals, trying to keep things running on the empty bank account.
Oh, they're fucked. Is basically my
kind of.
We're 48 hours into the Rhaenyra on the throne, and I'm already like, well, she's just fucked. Like, that was my. I don't really know how.
It's like restart the management game.
Pretty much. Like, this is
I just found myself way into debt. Let's start over.
Yeah, it's like it's just that stage where, especially the way the episode presents everything, I'm like, this isn't gonna. The only, I guess it's the only sort of negative thing I have. It's not even like a real negative. It's just it's not negative. It's just the disappointing thing about Game of Thrones sometimes is it doesn't give its characters any wins. And it's like Rhaenyra, finally sits upon the throne, and I'm like, we're not going to get a moment of her actually having any
enjoying this.
I just don't see this ending without. This is just her reign, however long that may be, is not going to be a peaceful, enjoyable one.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, and that's sort of disappointing, but also makes sense for the story at the same time. Yes, but Alicent then tries to admits about Aegon. Simply announce Aegon is dead. No one knows what he looks like. Alicent admits that he was roasted by Vhagar. And if Larys eventually tries to reintroduce Aegon into the narrative, Rhaenyra can simply claim he's an imposter. Of course, Alicent likely has ulterior motives, with such an announcement will have the added effect of sparing the life of a son, whom she previously all but left for dead. But if Alicent was hoping this advice would convince Rhaenyra to set her and Helena free, which was part of their original agreement, she's mistaken. Rhaenyra is not willing to let them go, not as long as Aemon remains at large, and considering the one-eyed prince is MIA throughout the episode, finding him might take a while. Rhaenyra has accepted that she can't have the coronation of her dreams, but still hopes to be anointed by the High Septon in the eyes of the Seven, a move that will give her a bit more legitimacy, especially to those in the faith. Unfortunately for her, the High Septon is not as easily manipulated as others in King's Landing, and while Rhaenyra claims that Aegon is dead, he requires evidence. Mention of dragons only angers the man in the cloth, as he warns the Queen to not make an enemy of the faith, perhaps foreshadowing more of Rhaenyra's struggle to come. What do we think that is? Like, she's gonna need them in a time, like she's gonna need them soon, or not being closely tied to, the church or whatever we want to call it. When the free people are usually could be a negative thing for her.
Well, we saw in Game of Thrones what happens when you fuck
with the church
is against you. So
yeah.
it's probably not a great idea to get them offside, and especially in times when they're struggling with financial aid and food. You want to keep people believing. You want to keep the people who are maintaining people's faith to be on your side. So,
but definitely seemed like a little bit of a red herring as to a potential part of her eventual downfall. A bit, to be honest.
Yeah. It's just another conflict that is raised in this few days that is like another thing that's just not going her way. She think it'd just be simple. Just name me queen. I'm in the chair. I'm doing the job. But yeah.
And the worst part about all of it is that we know as an audience, as does Alicent, I guess, that she was meant to be.
Well, she was meant to be.
She was meant to be the queen. Well, not that he ain't. That Aemon isn't. Neither of her sons are dead, but just the fact that her father did name her as the heir. All this shit because that fucking woman.
God damn it,
Alicent. A highlight of Rhaenyra's otherwise stressful day seems to come from his dinner with Corlys and his newly acclaimed sons, Alan and Adam. Despite his change of heart, though, Rhaenyra is unwilling to legitimize the boys, recognize them as Valerians, and make Alan his heir. She's nervous that her raising of bastards will get more people talking about her own son's legitimacy. Ever since their birth, rumors have circulated that the Lysares, and Joffrey were the sons of Harwin Strongnut, Larian Valerian, because they are. Organizing Corlys' bastards will suggest a pattern. Unfortunately, Renera needs allies right now. Corlys is one of her strongest, but her refusal to grant his request does not sit well with him. He brightly reminds Renera of all of that he's done for her before exploding into rage as he yells throughout the Red Keep about Renera's son's bastard status. Yep. So now she's losing her hand.
Got her hands not in the best mood. I was confused for a large portion of this episode why she was just not going on with it. That just seems like a simple request.
It's because she sent for Joffrey, her last son.
Yeah,
and
I guess.
Bastard son.
Yeah, I mean, her rationale, I guess, kind of makes sense. Except both those kids are dead. So ultimately, nobody's going to be questioning it because those kids are not around anymore too. They're not next. I
think I don't know. It's all that shit that she went. Was it season?
I think
2,
it's just like all these
season?
things she's been holding in for a long time.
She's now so focused on trying to be perfect. Really, is a big part of this episode that she wants to live up to being this perfect queen and make everyone happy.
But then Corlys, I mean, her son just died. You could go a little bit.
Yeah,
you didn't just say those things, so loudly in the middle of court.
Jacaerys took those bows like the bastard he is. Like,
Also, Bael is there. That's technically his hair, right? She's his granddaughter.
Yeah, but he wants sons. That's the thing, I guess.
Oh yeah, he wants to keep the name.
He wants to keep the name. Yeah. Also, she's in this episode for 3 seconds just to get to her. Evil-eyed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This interaction likely blah, blah, blah. Neither does her time of the month, which just comes just as she's about to face the people. Kings never have to deal with their monthly visit from Aunt Flo. And hasn't blood been shed in this way of war already? I do think it is interesting, obviously, because kings don't have to deal with
a menstrual
cycle. I think it was, sort of helps to show that she's going through cramps and all this shit throughout the episode as well, while trying to deal with the rest of the pressure that, again, it does a very, it's like what do you call it? Like woman doing all the things that men do anyway, but they're having to deal with the added things that women have to deal with. I don't know if there's also something like metaphorical about the fact she started bleeding right as she's taking the crown. If you want to read into that, I don't know.
I think it's just bad timing.
Could be.
And most women say that's the how it usually goes. It just gives you bad time. It comes at the worst time.
Rhaenyra is reminded by especially Sylvia that she came to power as champion of people. She has long talked the talk, but now she has to walk the walk, and she's quickly learning it's easier said than done. Of course, she could take Daemon's advice and ignore the poor and the quote-unquote the never-ending inconvenience, the assistance of the people being fed. Daemon and Viserys sit on Rhaenyra's shoulders like angel and devil. The former whispers tales of immense power as he attempts to convince his wife to continue conquering beyond Westeros. Viserys, meanwhile, advocates for the common people, reminding her that a hungry population is a dangerous one. It seems Viserys has won this battle as Rhaenyra opts to throw a banquet, but not just any banquet. She gathers the heads of some minor houses for dinner, only to serve them rat. This is what the common folk of my city ate, and this and worse while you hid provisions away in your storehouses, she tells them. The move is the one sign that the old Rhaenyra is still in there somewhere. Of course, one practical joke does not a queen make. She does, however, follow that up with a trip to the town square with some PR rehabilitation, just called Massaria. Blah, blah. She hands out food. I do think that Daemon is sort of right here that when he points out this is such a it's a band-aid effect. The food isn't going to go long. It's going to buy her a little bit of goodwill, but it's still not going to solve the problem. They'll all be back to begging for help within, a week's time, basically. It's a very short-term solution for everything. Mm-hmm. Her trip to city centre is a high point for Rhaenyra, who has been floundering since she took the throne. But just as things seem to be taking turn for better, she gets hit with a double whammy of bad news. First, there's a realization that the boy she's been harbouring is not, in fact, Arryn. But before she can even react, she learns of even more betrayal at the hands of Ormond Hightower. Despite pledging his fealty to Rhaenyra, he and his troops have taken this small town of Tumbleton, not far from King's Landing. Perhaps Daemon was right, and he should have incinerated them all. And as Rhaenyra angrily stares into the burning pile of Team Green's banners, it seems that she's ready to fall down the path that seems to befall all Targaryens at some point, that of complete destruction by fire. Yeah, what's she going to do? Burn them all? She says it.
I think that's her initial impulse, but which should be concerning for everybody around that. She kind of wants to kill everybody. So, but yeah, I guess she's going to have to find a diplomatic or non-direct way to get the high towers in line. Okay? And hopefully that results in us seeing more of the cast of the world of the Seven Kingdoms.
Any other thoughts for the rest of this episode? Anything I missed? Or
no, it was just really nice to see Renera and Alicent in the same room again. And then just the awkwardness, I guess, of it all. But also like
Alicent's like, it's what you wanted.
Yeah, this dynamic between them, I think, is very interesting. And like, is it going to? Obviously, Alicent's been going to be kept around until they get Aemond. So, I don't know. I feel like Alicent's going to become like his bigger, more important voice in Rhaenyra's ear. Like weirdly,
Alicent's going to become hand of the king, hand of the queen.
Possibly. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season she ends up on that council. You know what I mean?
Wild turn of events.
Wins all over. Even though Rhaenyra keeps coming to her and telling her terrible news about her family.
Yeah. Hey, I've got your son. Hey, I killed your dad.
Listen, I'm going to keep you here until your son shows up, and then I'm going to kill him. But you'll be free to go. You know that son that you had that you've haven't seen in 5 years? It's going to send him to Night's Watch. He'll be on the wall. Never see him again.
I mean, the thing about that was, I know she obviously her reaction was like, but we know that is a.
It's a death sentence, really.
Well, no, but it is it's actually a it was a nicety. Like she could have just killed him.
Yeah, it's slightly.
I mean, it wasn't actually him, but sending anyone to take the black is
rough.
nice in the scheme of things, I think. Because
Well,
usually,
when the other option is death, it is a nice gesture.
yeah. Well, usually it's like, if I'm going to kill this person, or they can go take the black. And I just think if you're letting them do that, you're at least letting them live, you know? So. All right. That will do it for this week's episode of South of King's Landing. Of course, you can find all the other things, Explosion Network at explosionnetwork.com, or our podcast at explosionnetwork.com/podcast. And you can follow us on social media by heading to explosionnetwork.com/follow. We'll be back next week to talk about the mid-season. Yep, episode 4. There's 8 episodes of seasons. We're about halfway through the season already. Time flies when you're having fun in Westeros. Am I right? Anyway, council's over. See you then.